Welcome to the channel. Hit subscribe and dive into stories that'll stay with you long after the video ends. Let's begin. Rain hammered the windshield, a relentless drumbeat in the dark. Jack's old pickup rattled along the empty highway, the wipers squeaking, barely keeping up. His hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white, eyes squinting through the blur of water and night. He hadn't seen a car for miles. The radio hissed static, then died. Just him, the storm, and the endless ribbon of asphalt stretching into nowhere. A shadow flickered at the edge of his headlights. He slowed, heart thudding. A figure stood by the road, thumb out, soaked to the bone. A woman, young, maybe 25. Her dark hair plastered to her face, a duffel bag slung over her shoulder. She didn't flinch as the truck crept closer. Her gaze locked on his through the rain-streaked glass. "You lost out here?" Jack called, cracking the window. His voice was gruff, tired from a double shift at the mill. "Lost ain't the word," she said, her voice low, almost swallowed by the storm. "You going north?" He hesitated. Every instinct screamed to keep driving, but her eyes, sharp, almost too bright in the dark, held him. "Get in," he muttered, popping the lock. She slid into the passenger seat, dripping water, the duffel thumping at her feet. The air shifted, heavy with the scent of wet cloth and something else. Something metallic, sharp. "Name's Lila," she said, not looking at him. Jack. He kept his eyes on the road, the truck lurching back into motion. "Where you headed?" "Far as you're going," she said, her voice like a blade wrapped in velvet. The highway stretched on, the storm raging. Lila didn't speak, just stared out the window, her fingers tracing the edge of her bag. Jack's gut twisted. Something about her wasn't right. The way she sat, too still, like a coiled spring. The way her eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, like she was watching for something. "You running from someone?" he asked, half joking, half dreading the answer. Her lips twitched, not quite a smile. "Aren't we all?" The words hung there, heavy. He laughed, trying to shake the unease, but it stuck. The rain slowed to a drizzle, and the world outside felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. He glanced at her bag. A dark stain spread across the canvas, seeping into the floor mat. "Not water. Too thick, too dark. What's in the bag, Lila?" His voice was steady, but his pulse wasn't. She turned, her eyes locking onto his, unblinking. "You don't want to know." His hands tightened on the wheel. The road ahead was empty, no lights, no signs. Just the two of them, the hum of the engine, and that stain spreading like a secret. He should have kept driving. Should have left her in the rain. But it was too late now. The truck barreled into the night, and whatever she was carrying, whatever she was running from, was sitting right beside him. The truck's engine growled, a low rumble under the patter of fading rain. Jack's eyes flicked between the road and Lila, her silhouette sharp against the dim glow of the dashboard. That stain on her bag gnawed at him, a dark question mark. He wanted to ask again, demand answers, but her silence was a wall. And those eyes, God, those eyes, felt like they could see straight through him. "You don't talk much, do you?" he said, forcing a chuckle. "Only when it matters," Lila replied, her voice soft but edged like a whisper in a graveyard. She shifted, pulling the bag closer, her fingers curling protectively around it. The highway curved, trees looming like sentinels in the dark. Jack's mind raced. He'd picked up hitchhikers before, drifters mostly, with stories of bad luck and worse choices. But Lila was different. She wasn't just passing through. She was carrying something, hiding something. He could feel it in the air, thick as the humidity after the storm. "Folks don't just stand in the rain for no reason," he said, testing her. "What's got you out here, middle of nowhere?" She tilted her head, studying him. "You ever feel like you're drowning, Jack? Like the world's pressing down and you can't breathe?" He swallowed. Her words hit too close. The mill, the bills, the endless grind of a life that never let up. He knew drowning. "Yeah," he admitted. "More than I'd like." "Then you know why I'm here." She turned back to the window, her reflection ghostly in the glass. Sometimes you gotta run to breathe. The road dipped, the truck bouncing over a pothole. Jack's eyes caught a glint in the bag, a zipper half open, revealing something metallic inside. A knife, a gun? His heart kicked up, a drumbeat in his chest. "That bag's awful heavy for a runaway," he said, voice low. Lila's hand froze on the strap. "You're curious, aren't you?" Her tone was playful, but it carried a warning. "Curiosity's dangerous, Jack." He forced a laugh, but it came out wrong, shaky. "Just making conversation," she didn't answer. The silence stretched, taut as a wire. Outside, a sign flashed by, "Rest stop 5 miles." Jack's mind spun. He could pull over, tell her to get out. But something stopped him. Maybe it was her voice, the way it wove through him, tugging at something buried. Maybe it was the way she seemed to know him, like she'd seen his life laid bare. "You got family, Jack?" she asked suddenly, her eyes on him now, piercing. He stiffened. "Not anymore." His wife's face flickered in his mind, gone 3 years now, taken by cancer. The loneliness had settled in like rust. "I'm sorry," Lila said, and it sounded like she meant it. He didn't reply. The rest stop sign loomed closer, glowing in the headlights. He could stop. He should stop. But the road kept pulling him forward, and Lila's bag sat there, heavy with secrets, daring him to ask again. The rest stop emerged from the dark, a lonely island of fluorescent light. Jack eased the truck into the lot, tires crunching gravel. A single gas pump stood like a sentinel, its glow flickering. The place was deserted. No cars, no people, just the hum of the lights and the distant croak of frogs. Lila sat still, her hands resting on the duffel, her eyes scanning the shadows. "Need a break?" Jack asked, his voice tighter than he meant. Lila's lips curved, not quite a smile. "You trying to get rid of me?" He didn't answer, just cut the engine. The silence was deafening, broken only by the faint drip of rain from the truck's roof. He glanced at the bag again. That stain, it was bigger now, spreading like ink. His stomach churned. "I'm grabbing a coffee," he said, nodding toward the vending machine across the lot. "You coming?" "I'll wait," she said, her voice flat, final. He stepped out, the cool air biting his skin. The lot felt too open, too exposed. He crossed to the machine, coins clinking in his pocket, but his eyes kept darting back to the truck. Lila hadn't moved, her silhouette rigid like she was guarding something. Or hiding. The machine spat out a bitter-smelling coffee, the cup warm in his hands. He lingered, watching her through the truck's window. She leaned down, rummaging in the bag. A flash of metal, definitely a blade. His pulse spiked. What the hell had he let into his truck? "Get a grip, Jack," he muttered to himself, sipping the coffee. It tasted like ash. He wasn't a hero, just a tired man with a beat-up truck and a life that felt like a dead end. But something about Lila pulled at him, like a current he couldn't fight. He walked back, slower than he meant to. The truck door creaked as he climbed in. Lila was sitting upright now, the bag zipped shut, her hands folded like nothing had happened. "Find what you were looking for?" he asked, his voice sharp. Her eyes flicked to his, unreadable. "You see a lot, don't you?" "Enough." He started the engine, the rumble filling the silence. "You gonna tell me what's in that bag, or do I have to guess?" She laughed, a low, throaty sound that sent a shiver down his spine. "You're not ready for that, Jack." The truck rolled back onto the highway, the rest stop fading in the rear view. The road ahead was black, the storm clouds parting to reveal a sliver of moon. Jack's hands were steady, but his mind wasn't. He kept seeing that flash of metal, kept hearing her voice, smooth, dangerous, like she was testing him. "You ever do something you can't undo?" she asked suddenly, her words slicing through the hum of the engine. He thought of his wife, the nights he'd spent working instead of holding her hand. "Yeah," he said, barely a whisper. "Then you get it," she said, her voice softening. "Some things you carry forever." The road curved again, and a new sign glowed in the distance. "Bridge ahead." Something told him they weren't just crossing a river. The bridge loomed ahead, its iron skeleton glinting under the moon's pale light. Jack's truck rumbled across the approach, the tires humming a low warning. The river below churned, black and restless, its surface catching flecks of silver. Lila sat silent, her hands gripping the duffel, her eyes fixed on the water. The air in the cab felt thick like the moment before a fight. "You scared of bridges, Jack?" Lila asked, her voice soft but pointed like she already knew the answer. "Not bridges," he said, eyes on the road. "What's on 'em?" She laughed, sharp and quick. "Smart man." The truck hit a bump and the bag shifted, sliding against her leg. Jack's gaze flicked down. The zipper was loose again and something glinted inside. Definitely a knife, maybe more. His throat tightened. He wanted to stop, to demand answers, but the bridge stretched on and the river's roar filled his ears. "You ever think about starting over?" Lila said, her voice cutting through the noise. "Leaving it all behind?" He snorted. Who doesn't? His life flashed through his mind. Long shifts, empty nights, a house too quiet without her. "But it ain't that easy." "It can be," she said, her tone almost gentle, "if you're willing to pay the price." He glanced at her, her face half lit by the dashboard's glow. Her eyes were bright, too bright, like they held a fire he couldn't name. "What's that supposed to mean?" She didn't answer, just leaned back, her fingers brushing the bag. The stain was darker now, unmistakable. Blood. His heart slammed against his ribs. "Lila," he said, voice low, "what the hell's in that bag?" She turned, slow, deliberate. "You sure you want to know?" The bridge's end was close, the road narrowing as it curved into the dark. Jack's hands shook on the wheel. "I'm sure I don't want trouble." "Trouble's already here," she said, her voice a whisper now, intimate, like a secret shared in the dark. "Question is, what are you gonna do about it?" He slammed on the brakes. The truck skidded, tires screeching, stopping just shy of the bridge's end. The river roared below, a hungry sound. "Get out," he said, his voice hard. Now Lila didn't move. Her eyes locked on his, unblinking, like she was reading his soul. "You don't mean that," she said. "You're not the kind to leave someone stranded." "Try me," he growled, but his voice cracked, betraying him. She leaned closer, her breath warm against his cheek. "You're lonely, Jack, I see it, I know it. You picked me up because you're looking for something. Same as me." His chest tightened. She wasn't wrong. But that bag, that stain, it was a line he couldn't cross. Not yet. "Last chance," he said, his hand on the door handle. Lila smiled, slow and dangerous. "Drive, Jack, you're not done with me yet." The truck idled, the river's roar filling the silence. He should have opened the door, should have pushed her out. But his foot found the gas, and the truck rolled forward into the night, toward whatever waited on the other side. The highway stretched endless, the night peeling back as dawn bled pink across the horizon. Jack's truck hummed, the engine's drone a steady pulse against the quiet. Lila sat beside him, her duffel still, the stain now a dark accusation. His hands were steady on the wheel, but his mind was a storm. Fear, curiosity, and something deeper, something he couldn't name. "You're quiet," Lila said, her voice softer now, almost human. "Thinking about kicking me out again?" He didn't look at her. "Thinking about a lot of things." The road curved through a valley, hills rising like silent witnesses. He'd driven all night, chasing answers he wasn't sure he wanted. That bag, that knife, her eyes, they were pieces of a puzzle, and he was too far in to walk away. "Pull over," Lila said suddenly, her tone sharp. He glanced at her, startled. "Why?" "Just do it." Her hand was on the bag, fingers tight around the strap. He eased the truck onto the shoulder, gravel crunching under the tires. The world was still, the dawn light casting long shadows. Lila stepped out, the bag slung over her shoulder, and walked to the edge of a ditch where the grass was tall and wild. Jack followed, his boots heavy on the ground, his heart heavier. She knelt, unzipping the bag. He braced himself, expecting blood, a weapon, something terrible. Instead, she pulled out a bundle of clothes stained red and a knife. Small, rusted, no menace to it. She tossed them into the ditch, then stood, her shoulders slumping. "It's not what you think," she said, her voice breaking. "It's mine, my blood, my past." He stared, the pieces clicking. "You're hurt?" "Was." She lifted her shirt, revealing a scar, fresh and jagged across her ribs. "He thought he could keep me." "He was wrong," Jack's breath caught. "Who?" "Doesn't matter," she said, her eyes meeting his. "He's gone." "I'm not." The weight of her words settled over him. She wasn't a killer, not a threat, just a woman running from a ghost. He thought of his own ghosts, the ones he carried in silence. "Why tell me now?" "Because you didn't leave me," she said simply. "You could have. Most would have." He looked at the ditch, the bundle of clothes, a small, sad thing in the grass. "What now?" She smiled, the first real smile he'd seen. "I keep going." "You should too." They climbed back into the truck, the air lighter now, the dawn brighter. He drove, and for the first time in years the road didn't feel so heavy. Lila pointed to a sign, "Town ahead, 10 miles. "Drop me there," she said. "I'll be okay." At the town's edge, she stepped out, her duffel lighter now, her eyes softer. "Thanks, Jack," she said, and she was gone, vanishing into the morning. He drove on, alone again, but not the same. Lila had carried her past in that bag, and he'd carried his in his chest. Maybe it was time to let go. The road stretched ahead, and for once he didn't dread it. Thanks for watching.